Today I'd like to talk to you about the PlayStation, and Sony, I guess, thereby. I wanted to love the PlayStation. I really did. I saw the hype from the sidelines. I was like, oh, Snake Eater, oh, Shadow of the Colossus. It really was like a bunch of groundbreaking stuff that made it feel like Sony was doing something that nobody else dared to do. And yeah, I did admire it. I really did. It was some cinematic gaming, but every time I tried to jump into it, it just, didn't click. It wasn't for me. I tried to make it happen. I finally bought a PlayStation 3 at some point when I was in the Navy, and I just played Little Big Planet. I played it a lot, but all I played was Little Big Planet. I basically Nintendo'd my PlayStation, and then sold it like a half-read philosophy book. I wanted to care. I tried to care, but nothing ever pulled me in. And perhaps that's the entire problem with Sony and PlayStation. PlayStation's really always felt like it was made for somebody else. The people who want their games gritty, cinematic, prestige with a capital P. Like if HBO came together and made you a console. Something Game of Thrones boob dragon, but that's not my specific flavor of weird, you see. I like color. I like games that give me freedom and allow me to feel like a gremlin, not a moody man trudging through trauma for 60 hours on end. And now, even if I wanted back in, it's pretty hard to justify, because Sony doesn't really even sell consoles anymore. They sell ecosystems with velvet ropes and a whole lot of no, you can't do that. Maybe that's a whole lot of the problem, is just that people want to sell you fucking ecosystems instead of making something functional that's actually enjoyable. Sony did used to be scrappy, accessible, somewhat cool. But now it's like overly polished and closed off and seems obsessed with its own prestige. It's like they turned the console into a gated theater where the ticket price keeps going up and the exit doors are well hidden.
Yes!
I'm not really saying any of this out of spite. It is purely fatigue. That's what inspired my recent Nintendo Switch video as well. I'm tired of price hikes and locked features and a library that I can't trust to be mine when I wake up tomorrow. If you felt that too, well, then you probably already understand why I'm stepping away. Really, these things are sort of all-encompassing throughout the games industry recently, but in this video we will be focusing on the Sony PlayStation. Pompous, proud, pretentious. So let's go ahead and talk about how the console that might have once felt like a revolution in gaming now feels like a luxury showroom, complete with a three-piece suit and tie dress code. All grit, no giggles. One thing has been made very clear to me throughout these past few decades of gaming, and that is that Sony wants to be taken seriously. Like Oscar-worthy type of serious. Their entire brand identity feels like it was born in a black turtleneck, which was during a viewing of the Criterion Collection. I don't know, I guess that's not inherently bad if you're into that vibe, but if you're the kind of player who just wants to play, well then it starts to feel less like a console and more like some sort of hoity-toity entrance exam. My wife, for instance, is a gremlin gamer. She likes to kill things. She likes blood. Loud and fast and cathartic. And she saw me sitting around one day watching some gameplay on YouTube for The Last of Us, and she literally asked me, is that guy just gonna talk the whole time? When is he going to start stabbing things? And honestly, she's sort of not wrong to ask. Even if her and I do have different views on what fun is in video games, we can agree on one thing. You should be interacting with the game that you're playing. With PlayStation, fun feels more like a side effect. It's just sort of something that accidentally happens between the cutscenes. They're not delivering chaos or creativity, they're delivering gravitas, heavy music, broken dads, trauma-laden teenagers, and all of it with lighting so dramatic that it could win an Emmy someday maybe. Now don't get me wrong, these games, they are polished, technical masterpieces, I will not dispute you that, but there's a difference between making a great game and making a game that feels good to play, at least when it lets you play. I don't need a 15-minute cutscene, please. As far as Sony goes, yeah, it's been made very clear that they are so allergic to goofiness in their games that it feels like you might get a round of detention just for smiling during the opening cutscene. Games aren't something for you to enjoy. You should be on the verge of crying, damn it. Yeah, everything's polished, okay, sure, but God forbid you try to have some fun that isn't solemn or cinematic. And look, maybe all that is completely your vibe. I am not here to yuck your solemn post-apocalyptic yum. I do acknowledge that things like Astrobot have come out on the PlayStation, and yeah, it looks goofy and fun, but not enough to drop $500 on it. And I grew up with Chaos, WarioWare, Besiege, Doom, games that let you do dumb stuff for no reason at all. And in stark contrast to that, PlayStation's whole identity feels like it was precision crafted in a drama workshop where color grading is sacred and joy is a liability. And so yes, this is the identity crisis I'm talking about. They want to be the future of gaming real bad, but I don't know. They made it feel more like a film school thesis that you have to respect your way through. And if you don't vibe with that tone, well then you're not invited. I mean, I probably wasn't going to go anyway, but it would have been nice to be invited. If all that exclusivity wasn't bad enough for you, just wait until you see how they treat literal access. Torching the archives. So let's say that you do buy into that whole gritty cinematic vibe. You like that polish. You're down with the drama. Okay, cool. But what if I told you that Sony still finds ways to make even accessing that experience feel like a bureaucratic hassle wrapped in a loyalty test? Because it's not just about how the games feel, truly. It's how the entire platform is designed to keep you in and keep others out, and also charge you more for the privilege. Welcome to Sony's walled garden. Like I said earlier, there probably is a door, but it's really well hidden. Do you perhaps recall the crossplay disaster that happened with Fortnite? Every other platform opened the floodgates, and Sony said no. Not until players and developers and the media dragged them through the mud, and when they finally did allow it, they charged studios a literal cross-platform tax. Because if you bought V-Bucks on Switch and played on PlayStation, well, Sony wasn't getting a big enough slice. Nice Chewbacca skin, bitch, where's my piece? Sony did not want a connected gaming ecosystem. In stark contrast to Microsoft, who we'll soon talk about, Sony wanted a gate-kept gaming ecosystem, and yeah, they made that everybody else's problem. Let's not forget the time that they tried to shut down the PS3, Vita, and PSP stores. Yeah, just poof! Decades of digital games all gone. They backpedaled, only after massive backlash again, which really tells you how much those legacy players mattered to them. That is, not at all. Unless it became bad press, of course. Much like Nintendo, this is a company that will sell you nostalgia, but does nothing to preserve it. They market community while isolating you from said community. They want to be the future of gaming while completely locking you out of its own past. And if you think the complaints stop there, well, no, they don't. Wait until you see what they did to subscriptions. Paying more for less. At this point, Sony's ecosystem already feels locked down tighter than a mint-condition Funko Pop, sealed in a vault guarded by Kratos and a team of corporate lawyers. But then you look at the subscriptions, and somehow they have managed to make all that mess even more complicated. Like, PlayStation Plus used to be pretty simple, you know? You paid a flat fee, you got online access, a few free games, done. But now it's sliced into so many tiers, it feels like a loot box made of buzzwords and buyer's remorse. Let's try and break this down a little bit, okay? The base tier gives you online play and a few games. Got it. The middle tier gives you more games, but not always the new ones. And then there's the premium tier, which has cloud streaming and limited time trials and some sort of vague promise that maybe someday you'll get to play a PlayStation 1 game if we feel like adding it. It's not a subscription, it's a trust exercise, and Sony's asking you to fall backwards into a service that really doesn't even know what the fuck it's offering next month. I reserve that honor solely for Humble Bundles. Go ahead and check out my affiliate link in a pinned comment. Meanwhile, Microsoft is dropping first-party releases on Game Pass day one. Hello, Doom Dark Ages. Glad I didn't buy that mess, but I was glad I got to play it. Nintendo, well, like I've explained, they're sort of fucking weird about things, but at least you know what you're getting. And Sony, well, they want you to pay more and wait longer and still feel lucky that you get to. It's not confusing, it's just mostly inconsistent. Some months, bangers, other months, shovelware. And there's no real communication, it's just like, hey, surprise! List the games that you mostly already bought 3 consoles ago. It feels like Sony looked over at Game Pass and said, hey, how could we do that, but with more steps and fewer benefits and some sort of fog machine to obscure any fun that somebody might have possibly had. And if you're wondering what all this money actually gets you, well, you just wait until we talk about ownership, or at least, again, the illusion of it. PlayStation has no games. Okay, so you're all signed up and subscribed, you've navigated the tier maze, you've overpaid for the console and the controller and the game, and maybe even got yourself a fancy headset. But here's the part that still blows my mind. You don't really own any of that stuff. Sony, like a lot of modern tech companies, has moved from selling you a product to selling you access to a product. Access that they can, of course, revoke or reshape or remove whenever the fuck they feel like it. Let's start with the end-user license agreement. Most things begin and end here, honestly. And that EULA that you skipped faster than a skippable cutscene, well, deep down there, buried in the fine print is a clause that says that Sony can terminate your access to digital content for, basically any reason. Violated terms of service and said a naughty word? Gone. Region mismatch? Gone. Suspended account? Okay, well, your library is dust in the wind now. And also, fuck you, no, you're not getting a refund. Ugh, imagine buying like a bookshelf full of novels, only to be told that you can't read them anymore because the store has changed their policy. That's essentially what Sony's offering. Ownership that vanishes the moment that they pull the plug. And as I've said, it's not just Sony. Nintendo got theirs, Microsoft will get theirs as well. I might even have something to say about Valve before all this is done. And none of this is just hypotheticals. Games have been removed from users' libraries before, servers have been shut down, entire storefronts wiped out, and there's absolutely no guarantee that it won't happen over and over again. Even physical media isn't much of a guarantee anymore. Like, PlayStation 5 discs do install to the system, but then there are patches and DRM checks and online dependencies, which mean that whatever is on your shiny little circle might not work without Sony's blessing. So after hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars, what is it that you actually own? Well, a plastic box. There's probably some recyclable electronic scrap salvageable from it. You also got that terms of service agreement, which is super neat. And of course, there's also the ever-present reminder that the digital future is really only as stable as the company that controls it. But here, upcoming, is the part that really hurts the most. And that is that it's not just players feeling the squeeze, of course. Sony's grip extends to the very people who help make the PlayStation thrive, and once again, we're talking about content creators. DMCA'd in the DMC anus. If you thought Sony only made hard-to-play games, well, just try talking about their games, because the clampdown on control doesn't stop with consumers, of course. It hits creators as well. And much like Nintendo, I'm pretty glad that I didn't try to build my channel around PlayStation's content, because Sony doesn't treat creators like ambassadors. They treat them like open threats. They've gone after modders, streamers, critics, basically anybody who steps even a pixel outside their marketing plan. You remember the PlayStation 3 and Geo Hot saga? When hackers and homebrew enthusiasts tried to crack open the console, Sony didn't just patch that, they took them to court. They waged a very public legal war to keep their system locked down, tightly tied. This wasn't just about stopping piracy, it felt like a message. This is our box, our rules. Don't try to color outside the fucking lines that we drew for you, or you will suffer consequences. Meanwhile, other companies are sort of starting to get it, I guess. Valve lets you mod experiences. Indie devs openly want you to remix their work. Somebody in the comments of the Nintendo video said that the Stardew Valley dev got asked by Nintendo to take down mods, and he said, nah. That's awesome. Even Microsoft, which is the video that'll come up next, mostly lets creators breathe. But Sony, man, they want something clean and curated and corporate, and if you do not fit that mold, you're disposable. For a company that profited so much from fans rallying behind it, that kind of hostility kind of hits real different, you know? Because let's be honest, Sony wasn't built on community, really, but it sure did use one to climb up the mountain. And after all this, after the games and the price hikes, the walled gardens, creator clampdowns, I have finally made my decision. We getting up and out. So yeah, overpriced upgrades, subscription sleight of hand, illusion of ownership, harassment of creators. Overall, yeah, I am just out. Up and out. Not out of spite, but out of clarity. PlayStation isn't the console that I looked up to across from the lunch table anymore. It's not the scrappy competitor with the cool exclusives. It's a walled empire of cinematic seriousness that will only let you in if you follow the script. And I'm not trying to be an NPC in someone else's prestige drama. Here, you just stand by and watch the action while we tell you how to feel. No fucking thanks. And I know, Sony, they do still make great games. I know some of you love the ecosystem, and God forbid, I'm not trying to take that away from you. I'm just saying that for people like me, players who want fun without reverence, freedom without fear, well, it's getting harder and harder to justify the buy-in, isn't it? So no, I'm not gonna buy this PlayStation or the next one, not unless something fundamentally changes. Not unless they prove that they're willing to treat players like people and not just data points in a premium income funnel. And if any of this resonated with you even a little bit, do know that you're not alone. The future of gaming shouldn't feel this restricted, and the brands that we all grew up with, well, they don't get a free fucking pass forever, now do they? So, thanks for watching. I'll be in the comments as usual, and next time we'll talk about Microsoft, because if Sony's building a prestige prison, well, Xbox is out there quietly buying up the entire neighborhood. If you'd like to join my personal premium income funnel, check me out on Patreon or YouTube memberships. There's merch over on Fourth Wall. Always remember, friends, that you're loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.